Overnight reverse repos jumped from 11 billion to 29 billion, and you're probably going to hear that that is because of the GDP report we got. The US economy grew at a 3.8% rate in the second quarter, significantly stronger than previously reported, which lowered the possibility for rate cuts coming into October. However, we see that the Treasury's tentative auction schedule shows several short-term bills, the 13, 26, and 6 week, with settlement Thursday, September 25th, 2025, which is today. And you can see that right here in this table. Feel free to take a screenshot. Now, on top of that, at the quarter end, most of the time, big banks and money market funds want their balance sheets to look cleaner for reporting, which means more money parked over at the Fed, aka risk off, aka less liquidity in risk on assets like crypto as well as stocks. And we are seeing Bitcoin as well as the S&P 500 take a bit of a nosedive. And I want to talk about the possibility that I see over the horizon. We also have some rumors of war. The US has deployed jets against Russian bombers. According to CNN, Russian military aircrafts have been detected in Alaska's airspace, yet the market investors still kind of remain resilient to any sort of bad news. They remain completely careless, and we are still sitting at a neutral on the fear and greed index, which means that the market may hold its trend. Now, Bitcoin broke under a key level at 112. We tried to hold it, and now we broke back below it. And if we close beneath 112, it is technically very, very bearish, as Bitcoin already has prepped looking heavy, aiming towards 103K, and some people calling for 99 or 98 as well, towards the bottom of this fib channel, which is very possible. The lower we go, the more longs that get liquidated who are trading on leverage, and then before a quick possible reversal. This is back in 2021. I know you're going to want to know what's going on with GameStop selling off as well. It's ultimately capital rotation. Here's what we've seen from January 13th to January 21st, and then the 21st to the 28th, and then the 28th to February 22nd. And you can see that during GameStop's move back in January of 2021, hang with me very quickly, we saw basically the opposite happen in the chart, basically inversing Bitcoin. However, the initial move was them moving together with this blip on the 13th, and then they started trading complete opposite of each other. The same thing goes for the SPY. This is the same exact time frames, scale up, and then they start trading inverse, capital rotating into GameStop, and us having that squeeze, or aka sneeze, right? We are also seeing, with the possibility of less of a rate hike possibility coming in October, we are seeing the DXY, which is the dollar index, continue to rise, which ends up hurting risk on assets. However, we do also see that global M2 has rallied very, very high, and we can't avoid some other technicals that we have to pay attention to. So we can't just go all in and say that the market is going to crash, because there are signs still that there is excess liquidity that can flow into these markets. And for right now, based on a couple of things that I showed you, we are going risk on, but possibly very, very temporarily, after banks keep their books clean, after these bond auctions go off, and then after some of the possible rumors clear up. Now, the market dropped down to 657. It did hold this trend line right here, but just like back in January, it dropped about 4.6%. If we saw something very similar, and that's January of 2021, we would see a move down and hold this box between 638.60 and 636. That's where the SPY would go to. Now, in my opinion, we talked about yesterday the RSI being overbought on several macro timeframes, which, yes, this sell-off is holding right now, but I don't believe it will hold for long. And that's not to say that we are going to see a massive sell-off. I'm just saying that the SPY is likely to break trend right here, and I believe correct a bit further, possibly hitting that 4% correction mark around 638. But more so than likely coming down to 645, at least getting somewhat of a correction. Hopefully a bit more coming into here, just so we can have a harder rotation into risk on and a bigger move for Bitcoin, altcoins, and our memes and short squeeze plays. GameStop put out a little bit of a release today that was kind of a troll as well. An official announcement from GameStop. People are breaking this down. I'm not going to read the entire thing to you, but where was it? I saw, so we can see that on footnote number 3, GameStop basically says you lost the game. Way at the bottom, right? Footnote 3, you've lost the game. And then it says, hereby issues an official binding and extremely serious recommendation that customers refrain from visiting any GameStop location this Friday, September 26th. This is not a reverse psychology marketing stunt, but the way they worded it, it obviously is. They put out, quote unquote, an official announcement, and then they said, an official binding and extremely serious recommendation that nobody come to GameStop locations on Friday, September 26th for some odd reason, right? And then they go on and on and on. At the bottom, you lost the game. Some people are quoting September 26th, this Friday, aka tomorrow, being basically hinting that this message was for shorts, which we'll talk about the charts in 1 second. But we are also seeing GMEU, and this isn't fully updated, the lend pool completely down to 0. A lot of borrowing happened on XRT as well as GMEU today, but we saw that GMEU had negative cash position of about 26 million. Also coming up on quarterly ETF rebalancing right around the corner on XRT and GMEU. They are ballsy for bringing this down. This makes me believe that this wick down was a last resort to scare people out of their shares as well as their call options. First of all, late September, this very short window, what do we have? We have XRT and GMEU quarterly ETF rebalancing. What does that mean? That means they have to deliver real GameStop shares, which means they have to come over to this stock and buy the shares in order to deliver and rebalance those ETFs on the quarter end basis. Now, this also means today, which we saw just from proof from this screenshot, that they borrowed as much as possible in the lend pool to drop the price. The price only got to 25.20. On top of that, if you just look from a technical standpoint, yeah, everyone's selling their shares before the GameStop warrants. No, it's not going to happen. And ultimately, this probably scared you, but I am not shaken out of my position, and I do still believe we are on the gap up phase. GameStop keeps hinting at things over on X as well as Buck, so on and so on. GameStop Power Packs, which we talked about yesterday. And ultimately, I do still believe we are very, very bullish. Looking at this from a different perspective, we did hold this ascending support level. We wicked under it, but on the 4-hour, we held the 50. Beautifully, you can see this wick right here. But we also held this channel, which means GameStop pushed up into this channel, failed this channel, pressed up against it, broke in, consolidated inside, broke up, and held it, which is very, very bullish. On top of having very, very low volume on the sell day that we saw, which is also bullish for continuation higher. Ultimately, very, very, very bullish still as GameStop goes green, even though everything has a ton of fear in it for today and uncertainty. Now, AMC tested this pattern this is the 5th test most of the time. We've talked about it. AMC breaks on the 5th test almost every time it has a trend, which makes me think that AMC is going to hold right here and break out to the upside higher along with GameStop. This is still my expectation. It just moves a bit slower. BlackBerry was up about 8%, came all the way to 460, reported earnings yesterday. A lot of us in Discord ended up playing calls on BlackBerry, so shout out to you guys. It wasn't the biggest gain, but still making money on one of these plays that are in the basket just feels good because you know who's on the other side of these trades. Ethereum broke below 4K, which is also a crucial level, came up and tried to hold it. But right now, I don't see huge support here for Ethereum. I would watch for a wick down to 3,800 to possibly 3,650. But ultimately, I want to see Ethereum dip its toes into this box tonight or tomorrow before having a reversal higher. DVLT is a stock that I'm looking at. This is an AI stock up 32%, still trading at 85 cents, which is very, very, very cheap and has a 10% short interest. Today, some news came out. You can go look into this if you would like. I don't want the video to be too long, and this is not a sponsored stock. I'm just saying that it recently broke trend that it has been in since IPO, and then came down and built the base on it, and we're getting a 33% candlestick pattern right here, and the stock is only at 85 cents. Again, this isn't a sponsored stock, so be very, very careful. I mean, you can just scroll down and see that they're getting slaughtered on their earnings. They're going negative, and just things aren't looking the best. So obviously it's not just a straight up buy, in my humble opinion. Again, nothing I say is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Google bought a 5.4% stake in Bitcoin miner Cipher Mining. I believe that is ticker symbol CIFR. Overall, guys, that is just a little bit of addition. The top two links in the description of the video and pinned in the top of comments are going to take you to my Discord server, where you can join, talk stocks and crypto all day long, get access to all the alerts. Best vibes, best family. I'm in there on the daily as well. And you can go get my pattern detection indicator and add it to your TradingView chart for 7 days for completely free. Or you can just grab it. It detects patterns and forecasts what the stock might do. And you can mess with the detection, so how far out it detects, and then the forecast, so how far out it forecasts forward for you. Overall, that is it. I love you all. God bless. Lottery Stocks out.